Mugambi. I am a Kenyan. I reside in the UAE. My profession is operations management. And what I mean by that is I look at day-to-day activities, look at opportunities, gaps, how I can improve my team's work, whether be it looking at the pain points they're experiencing, how we can automate their processes, systems, steps, just to ensure that we are having more efficiency in return and their work is also meaningful for them. So my transition is just like any other person who's excited to try out stuff, work in Kenya was okay. And I just felt I needed, for me to feel like I want to grow, and looking at the positions I was looking at, they demanded me to have some experience out of my home country. I remember reading a job description and actually missing out on a role because I did not have diaspora experience. And so that got me thinking, and I thought, you know what, okay, maybe, because I'm young, it's the opportunity to actually try that out. So I looked at closest opportunities near me, and GCC was one of the closest. So I decided, okay, let me go to Dubai, because I've been there previously for other things. It's familiar ground. So I decided, let me go to Dubai, and that's how I transitioned to Dubai. What's different? Of course, the culture. But again, it's also very welcoming because Dubai is more than 90% expatriate. The locals are few. So that means interacting with cultures, more than 200 countries. So today, the number of countries I meet today in terms of the number of people I meet is going to be different tomorrow. So you have to be open to that. Again, realizing when you talk about culture, what you perceive as etiquette, what you perceive as your own culture may be offensive to another culture. So it's also taking a step back and looking and saying, oh, okay. And especially in the work environment, because these are people you'll be meeting every other day. In terms of interactions, you need to clean your ears a bit, because how they pronounce some English words and how you pronounce is very different. Also how they communicate. I remember just having interactions with people when I was going on a taxi. He was trying to tell me, can I stop here? And I'm telling him, can you move forward? So he ended up speaking his language and, me speaking mine. So sometimes you can easily get so frustrated. Yeah, so communication. Learn how to ask questions, and sometimes not too sophisticated, depending on who you're interacting with. Because it can be just one-word sentences or statements that get you the kind of service you want. The other thing was also in terms of professionalism. Being a first world country, your expectations are here. So I'll talk about professionalism, two angles. So you either think, because you're from Africa, from Kenya, starts, minimizing yourself, and you're thinking, hey, so I have to work towards that. So you find people who have degrees in paperwork saying, I'm ready to start at the bottom, cleaning jobs, security jobs. But in reality, you're qualified for those corporate positions, right? The other thing about professionalism, the second thing I wanted to talk about professionalism is you find that people from other countries, because of believing in themselves, they're in those positions that you'd like to, like for example, customer service. And I was giving you an example of a time I was in a restaurant where I just got in and sat in, and the expectation is someone would come, start serving you. But the guys are just seated there doing their banter, having their whole conversation, and you're thinking, how do things run around here? And I think those are the opportunities we as Kenyans and Africans have to see, that's a gap. I can go and talk to the manager and say, I didn't like this service, and that's your opportunity to get that position or that job. And so it's also being able to just be alert and identify those opportunities around you. It's not too different from Kenya. The biggest difference is you're competing with the rest of the world. So I was just giving an example of, for instance, a job is posted on LinkedIn at 2 p.m. in Kenya. Maybe the following day, 2 p.m., you'll get 100 applicants. In Dubai, it's posted at 2 p.m. At 3 p.m., it has over 1,000 applicants. So what does that mean for you? You have to be very strategic. In terms of job hunt, again, just the way we have job boards here, It's the same way you have job boards there. Don't stay alone, be out there. I remember one of the ways I was able to also find network was going to community spaces that are not too expensive. That can be church. And I was lucky my church had a job seeker kind of community, and we had people who've been there for over a decade, who've been there for years, even recruiters coming to just talk to us and teach us how we can get started, and of course encourage us, because the job seeking process can be very daunting. Yeah, so sometimes you need that community and encouragement. You also need to have some savings so that you don't end up doing desperate stuff. Oh my God. And when the savings end, be willing to come back. Don't have too much expectation. Be willing to come back so that you don't end up doing the desperate kind of jobs. Either come back, re-strategize, go back. Opportunities are there. As I was saying, the turnover is very high. So you can have a job today, tomorrow you don't have a job, depending on what you do. So also be a good steward of the resources you have until you feel you're settled and you're settling in well. Keep doing the right thing. Because again, life there is also expensive, but there's a way you can manage it and be able to save, have your life. I mean, don't deny yourself for sure, but just have a plan. Yes, I think those are some of the differences that I could pick out. All kind of jobs, from very high senior C-suite positions, CEO, director, different industries. There's a lot of construction. Real estate is big in Dubai, so there's a lot of construction work. Of course, tourism is huge. Hospitality is a major industry. There's also the blue-collar jobs, cleaning and security services. So they're both ways. If you get in through an agency, at least you're kind of protected, and it doesn't feel like, heavily blue-collar. Or rather, for instance, if it's a cleaning job, you'll find yourself having high-tech equipment, depending again on the company. So when I say you need to have a community research, talk to people on LinkedIn who are within the company, have an idea of what the experience is so that you're able to decide if that's what you want. So in terms of jobs, all kinds of jobs, because again, when you talk about having more than 200 nationalities, and people around the world are always setting up companies there. So there's also a heavy influx of startups. Yeah, and startup doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It can have, it's a big company in their country, but now they're coming to set up ground in UAE. So how does that look like? I was also sharing with you, a lot of recruiters are from America and the UK. They live in those places, but they're recruiting for the UAE. So opportunities are there, but again, the turnover is also high. So be patient with yourself. It can take you 2 weeks to 6 months to get a job. Some of the things that come top of mind, or what gives you an advantage, is if you have an extra language. Oh, that really works for you. So for CV, let me start probably the mistakes. People put their whole life. I've seen a CV that has a spouse's details, the name, number of children. So you have only 2 to 3 years of experience, but you have a CV that's bigger than the CEO, and that really works against you. First, it just shows you don't know what you're doing. And sometimes it's not that you don't know, you're just probably not exposed to this information. So I really, really do understand. But just top of mind, what you don't share too much of your personal details. So personal details, name, email address. Now, because you're in Dubai, you just put Dubai, and because a passport picture is a requirement, you put that. Then now get into, the other basics of summary, skills, experience. Also, don't put your references unless they ask for them. They will ask for them. But why I say don't put your references is you want to get a call from them, which gives you an opportunity to interact with them. And you realize, okay, I'm gaining traction here. So I advise people not to put their references, because, even your references, you need to let them know, hey, so-and-so will reach out, put in a good word for me. So that's just the basics, but let's keep it to 2 pages. If we can, if you have less than 5 years of experience, maybe more than that, 3 pages. Yeah. And also, when you talk about CV, LinkedIn, same thing. So there's the profile picture, let it be professional. They talk about the LinkedIn banner, just because those are the things that they look out heavily recruit from LinkedIn. So just have the basics looking good. Generally, as Kenyans and Africans, we do a lot of things in the name of just trying to make it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. So you find you've gone to school for finance, you've done a master's in, I'm trying to look, procurement. You have job experience in risk management and compliance, and you have all this and you want to put them in one CV. That can interpret as you not being focused, depending on the job you're looking for, or you not being specialized in that area. So if you're looking for all these positions, you have to have different profiles and CVs for all those positions, sadly, so that you have some time, 2 pages, to hone into that skill. And don't just say, I have project management. Say what that skill has done for you. How many projects did you manage? We talk about the ATS. ATS is applicant tracking system, and it is what a lot of companies are using to sift talent. So talk about the achievements, make them vivid and as visual as you can. So I took care of 10 projects, which brought about what was the success of that project. Try to make it as understandable to this end, so that I don't have to call you first and like, okay, now I want to have a conversation with this person, because it just brings the vibe that you're result oriented. Because Kenyans, we do deliver, but we really minimize our achievements. It's like, I was just an admin. How many people did you serve on a daily basis? It was probably a busy office. Customer service, I just received calls. No. How many tickets did you resolve? I mean, big companies, I know it could also be 80 to 100 calls a day. I want to see not just receiving calls, I want to see 100 calls a day, resolving about 80 or 90%. Well, that already communicates to me before anything else that this is something someone I would love to talk to. So being able to bring it in a way that your CV will speak for you, where before we can have that interview conversation, that's how you want to look at it. And it's the same thing with the LinkedIn. Yes. Yeah. So let's not diminish and minimize our achievements. So confidence to mean, okay, now there are 2 sides of it. Because of our skin color, we think when we go out there, other people have priority. It's partially true. So there's that side. So you need to know what side you fall in. Also depending on the company you're going to. But there's also this other side where they perceive Africans and Kenyans as very resilient. So it's like, you know why? I want that. Because if I have an issue, and probably the contract says you're not going to work on the weekend, but probably there's this need. Other people will switch off their phone, but they just want to see that extra effort. This one will be found. So there's that attitude we have towards work, and we respect work that they love about us. And that has created a good brand for us. So when you go and say, what, have conversations, say, you're from Kenya, I was like, it can kind of work for you, right? But also understand there's this other end of you're a black man. So you also have to fight a little harder to prove that you can do the job as well as any other person. So the job boards are quite common and they're out there. We talk about Indeed. Indeed is kind of global. Gulf talent. I think I can just share with you a list that you can probably put below this, which are commonly known. But I myself, I don't use them much because everyone around the world is using them. So if you're using them, then you have to be ready to do like 100 applications a day, or within a short period of time. Because again, as what I told you, the job is posted for this period of time. The number of applicants are many. So I'm a big advocate of network. But I'll still give you the job boards. You can still find opportunity from there. When you change your location, the algorithm knows how to pick up and suggest for you companies that are already there. And then there's a way, a little technical, but there's a way you can look for similar companies as this one. So you go getting more companies, like a suggestion of 6 more. Pick another one, a suggestion of 6 more. So there's so many. And of course, just watching the news, being there, you see brands, delivery brands. I mean, whatever it is that you want to, hospital tolls, Google is our friend, and even better, AI. So in terms of companies, from companies, get to know people. But again, as I said, there are a lot of startups, so more limiting. So the good thing about Dubai, it's a little open. Other GCC countries, yes, I think I've heard it's a little common, but Dubai is a little open. You'd really have to have made a mistake. Really, like, even me when I sit where I sit, it's a mistake. Unless any of the systems are just not for you. But it's wanting to attract expert and maintain its brand as the UAE. They're also very keen to not have those incidences. But I mean, I think just as Kenyans and probably Africans, we go there and we end up, it's common stories, spoiling our credit score. Go get loans, credit cards, probably not use that money well. Now that one will get you into trouble. And it'll get any other person into trouble. It's not like Kenyan specific. So in terms of racism, as much as it may be there, you can find a way of going about it. It's not like it's you because you're Kenyan. No. Yeah. Just like any other person, if you get a job in Nairobi, look for housing closer to your office. If it's Mombasa, same thing. So that would be a little difficult to, just say sleep or stay here. And the good thing is, once you get into that job, you'll get to hear where people are living, because that's one of the ways you can. Mostly people do that. It's like, okay, these people live in this place. Next time when I'm taking the bus, I'll try out and check houses in that area, Because the assumption is you're kind of earning within the same range. So if they are able to afford, then I should be okay with that. Yeah.
How is the cost of living?
Oh, it's high. Oh, it's very high. I know this is common, but there's what they call bed spaces. Bed spaces are like a dorm setup. That's 500 dirhams with the current exchange rate of 35. It's like 15K a month. That's a whole, is it a bed space? Not a bed space, it's called like a studio here. Yeah. Bed sitter. Bed sitter is the word. It's like a whole bed sitter here. And, it's kind of in an affluent place, because now the bed space is kundani, like a little hidden. So that's the minimum. So 10K, and you're like 8 people in some small room. Again, depending on what you're looking for, and when we're saying you save up and be ready to start from somewhere, you have to be ready. You find an incident where there's some people who've ever been caught littering. I remember it was like a Kenyan friend, and when they got to the airport, they were coming home for vacation, they were told, we have a video of you littering here, you need to pay this fine before you leave the country. So the place is clean. They try their best. So their system of it's not for trust, but maintaining discipline is through fines. These guys are so keen on the nitty-gritties. Just how you change lanes starts from that. Of course, overspeeding is something, but it just starts from how you change lanes. If a road says you're supposed to be driving at 80, the highest you can go is 100. So there's allowance of 20. Again, there's some roads where you're not supposed to drive slower. So if you're in a speeding lane and you're driving slower, my friend, you're in trouble. And it's not like a police will stop you. You just get a text. So the good thing again about the system is you have a period of a year to take care of your fines. So you find maybe one day you have a fine for jaywalking, another day you have a fine for driving and not indicating when you're changing lane, because looks like a form of distraction to other passengers. And then another one is a speeding ticket. So at the end of the year, so you find some people are unable to send money home because of the number of fines. It's like, yeah, it can get up to 300,000, and you're thinking, gosh, that was what I was hoping I could, push home. So you have to be disciplined when you come there. There's still conning and activities like that. So be careful again to understand when the deal is too good to be true. So for employees, there's no tax, and that's what makes UAE attractive.
Say that again.
There's no tax for employees.
And how much medical?
That's different. That's insurance cover.
So
You need to have your cover for medicals. You need to have maybe other benefits that you would need. But
Does it
it's
come, does it take care of that, or is it?
depending on your company again. But it should. According to the law, the company should.
Medical insurance?
Medical insurance can start from basic to whatever. But yes, the company should.
So how much take care of your medical insurance?
Should take care of your visa, number one, which is major. And that's a 2-year visa. So you find people taking advantage of that. But you can find an employer asking or demanding for your passport, which you should not give out. So visa, medical insurance, depending on the company, it can give you transport allowance or housing allowance. But these are just extras. But those two are major. Kenyans, we're just courageous. We just go there blindly and we'll figure out. And that narrative is common over and over and over. So we can't say like it's a particular structure. Of course, the people who are privileged and they work in multinationals where you just get a transfer and everything is catered for. But the rest of us, we have had to go blindly and figure out when we are still there. Yeah, so we can't say there's a particular system of doing it. So first, when you're earning 100,000, that's like 3,000 dirhams. At least you have some leeway to decide the kind of lifestyle you want to live a bit, because there are also classes of bed spaces. Because now the one with a lot of people is 350 dirhams, which is like 10 to 12,000. Then now you have the 500 dirhams, is like 15 to 17,000 Kenya shillings, and then. But I think it's a bit difficult to get your own housing with that money. So you have to be ready to stay in a shared space. So it moves from the 350 dirhams, which is like 8 people, to 6 people, which is like the 500 dirham. It just goes lower, and then up to 1,000 dirhams, which is like 35,000. There are probably like 2 or 3 people in a room. So we cannot maybe with the higher end, which is like 35,000. And then now food can be 500 dirhams, and that's decent food. Food is not too expensive. Between 300 to 500 dirhams, so that's like 1,500. Give transportation again, depending on where you're going, another 300 dirhams, so that's 1,800. You can be left with 1,200. And in that, I've factored in a little entertainment, but on the low. But a little of it. Maybe on a day you decide to treat yourself some junk food and you don't have to cook. The good thing with the bed spaces is everything is catered for. Wi-Fi, electricity, and water bills. But the good thing is these people have created for themselves communities. If I lose my job, I'll give you my job. Next time, if I hear there's another house help or cleaner needed, I'll put my name. Like they have WhatsApp groups. That is very huge. So you find them having confidence, get their child, stay here for a few months, and then go back to Dubai. And they'll still get a job within a short time because they had created that network. Let me talk to like the Kenyan Wananchi who's like, the Wanjiko. That one would make much more sense for them. So how would a typical day look like? So you have both ways, living, for instance, like house helps, and you also have the day bag system. Again, basics, medical, visa, very crucial. Your employer may not necessarily give that to you in such a role. So what does that mean for you? You have to negotiate to ensure you're not earning. The truth is, their salaries are like 1,000 dirhams. If you're getting 2,000 dirhams, you're on the good side. But also the assumption is that you're living with your host or whoever you're working for. Like I'm giving like a house help job. So for you to go there thinking, I'm getting 60k because the exchange rate is like 35 to 70k. Also think of it in terms of you may not have to move, and sometimes depending on your employer, you won't go out much over weekends. So negotiate from the start. How many days off am I getting? How much are you paying me? They might require you to take care of your own visa. Good companies give you tickets. You also, probably you're desperate, you've gotten in the first job, but please understand how your expenses look like or you'll never send money home. If you accept, oh, I was earning 10k in Kenya, now here I'm earning 35k. It's not necessarily the case because a visa costs you between 8 to 12,000 dirhams. That is 3,000 to 4,000 dirhams. 4,000 Kenya shillings. So that means every month how much are you saving from that 1,000 dirhams, which is 35,000 Kenya shillings, to be able to save up for your visa. You might be working for free eventually. Yeah.
So is a visa for...
Everyone has to have a visa, whether you're an employer or an employee. We are all experts in Dubai. It's only the locals who are like 10% or slightly above 10%. So everyone else has to have a visa. We have people who are there illegally, yes. But anything can happen. You can be deported and never get the opportunity to go back there.
So you need a visa coming?
So there's the visit visa, which is 2 months, and there's the residence visa, which is 2 years. Yes. Renew every 2 years. Yeah. So you find people are strategic, like, okay, I'll work for the 2 years. If this company, then I can go home, I've saved a bit, think about it, then come back. Look for the job again. Or depending on your employer. So, again, a lot of different systems. You find like house helps who work with people who have like summer holidays. When they're going to their home for their summer, you get the advantage of going back home for that month, which is good and refreshing for you. So I think it's upon you to really want better opportunities for yourself. Even if you're a Form 4 leaver, when you get there, please understand, there's some house helps who are getting paid 100,000 Kenya shillings and others who are being paid more. So be on the lookout. Because you're out there for opportunities, be on the lookout for those opportunities. Interact with people, understand how they're getting paid, because the locals pay well. But again, also understand what kind of culture is there. Are you being mistreated? So what I'm saying, sit back and refuse to be mistreated and say, okay, I'll just take this for a month, but I'll be out because I can't entertain this for too long. Because it becomes a cycle. You become mistreated, you take it as the norm, then every other time you're just downcast, and that's the kind of energy you're putting everywhere. And those are the kind of people who are complaining, keep attracting around you. And if you don't think of a solution and getting yourself out, you keep staying there. This is one of the miraculous places. You hear someone who was a house help with a degree, that's a real reality. The 2 months can end, and then easiest job you get is a nanny job or a house help job. That is so kawaida. In fact, no one will judge you. Like, then everyone will tell you, anzia mahali. Right? You go, you get that job. Depending on how aggressive you are, still networking. I've heard of stories where people got in as nannies. They moved from nannies, got into waitress jobs, got out of waitress jobs, got into the cabin crew. Your story can really change quickly in that side of the world. So quickly, but you really have to want something for yourself. Don't accept to say, it's fine, start somewhere, but keep the vision, keep the dream going, because opportunities are there. I see people, as I told you, that whole story of customer service. Yeah, that person just got the job. You go challenge that person. The employer would want to keep you for sure. And sometimes it's not even about that CV we are discussing. It's about interactions. So back in the day, there was a system of people just showing up in the mall and going and talking to the managers. Nowadays, it's not necessarily there. But you can have what people call an informational CV. Or interview, rather. An informational interview. Hi, how's business? Chit-chat, banter. Communication is so crucial for us. And I think we were having that conversation earlier, saying the biggest challenge we're having as Kenyans and Africans is self-marketing. We have grown up in a system that's telling us, don't. You're boasting when you show your achievements. Out there, add Royco, add the sugar. Sorry if my clap was loud. But just add everything. Just magnify it. Let them, this is the de la cream. I'm getting the best deliver. Because the truth is your work will show for it. But how you present it verbally can really demean, the work itself. And that's not necessarily the case. So, just for you also not to feel depressed, lonely, mental health issues, you can start from looking for communities on Facebook, Instagram, but mostly Facebook. Because Facebooks are very huge on diaspora stuff. If you're a Christian, go to churches. If you're a Muslim, go to the mosque. That's where you start your first interactions with people. You're likely to find Africans, if not Kenyans. Because, we are so similar as Africans. Our struggles are kind of the same. So then from there you can be able to now present that you're looking for a job, and people will help you to, tell you what they have in their companies or what their friends are doing and stuff like that. So online for sure. Churches, look for things you share in terms of, is it like a sport? Parks are so many in different communities and they're free, so you can go and just play games with people. And then Dubai, I don't say nightlife per se, but especially right now it's summer, activity starts from like 6-7 p.m. because during the day it's too hot, it's scorching hot. So people are going to the gym at that hour, people are going to the parks to take walks at that hour, people are having picnics at that hour, and the parks are very nicely constructed. So you can go work out, you can go play games, and everyone is allowed to just go booking. If you want to come also with your friends, play different games, badminton, whatever. Yeah, just so it's also provided avenues for people to come out of their shells and now get out and interact. I think as East African, what sells us is our forehead. Like, from East Africa? All the Africans will be like, you from Kenya? Yeah, and stuff like yeah, people will, when you show that you're interested in talking to someone, high chances that they'll respond to you. So from there you start your conversation. Yeah, so it's not a cold place. It's not. Yeah. Even the taxi guy, he'll give you stories about his whole life. If you're young and you're also still in the space of exploring and you have some little money saved, if you have some 2-3 years of experience, go out. By the time you also decide to come back, the chances of you getting better, those regional positions or whatever positions where they say they want you to have interacted with other cultures, because you have people just flying out for work and all those things. So they want to just know that when you fly out to represent us as a company, you're not going to embarrass us. So the time to do it is when you're younger. Also just get to know what are other other countries experiencing. You love Kenya more. When you realize, I hated my country. That's why you find people in their later stage when they have some little money, they come back home. It's just better to be here.